Good morning, good morning, good morning. What a great and happy new day. Welcome to day 104 of the Free to Hope presents 12 Steps Applied to COVID-19. I'm Edwina B, and I am here to share some information with you of my experience, my strength, and my hope of being a part of a 12-step program called Alcoholics Anonymous that's been in existence for over 80 years. But I've been a proud member for 31 years as of February the 23rd of 2021. So yes, I have some experience, some strength, some hope, and some wisdom to share with you how my God, who I choose to call him, delivered me, prepared me, molded and shaped me from the devastating addiction of alcohol and drugs over 31 years ago, as well as delivered me and 7 of my family members from COVID-19 on 104 days as of today. So FREE stands for From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered, to give hope to others, help others prosper equally. So having survived COVID-19 for 104 days, we as a Free to Hope group decided to share our experience, our strength, our hope, our wisdom, our lack of wisdom, our bad choices, our bad decisions regarding COVID-19, and how I contributed to contracting COVID-19 and infecting members of my family. So before we go any further, I want to acknowledge and pay homage to our Creator, who breathed life into you this morning, who breathed life into me this morning, who woke you up this morning and woke me up this morning on this glorious, joyful, and can be a happy new day if we learn about the 12 recovery principles that are spiritual in nature and apply them to COVID-19 and the CDC's simple suggestions so that we can stop the perpetuation of this devastating coronavirus, its impact, its effects, the outcomes, and fatalities. So not only do we want to give homage to our Creator, we want to pay homage to those who have transitioned from COVID-19, those who were left behind and the loss of their loved ones, those who are suffering right here, right now, this very moment from COVID-19, those who have recovered but have long-term effects from COVID-19, those who are intervening on the behalf of others with COVID-19, putting their lives and their families' lives in jeopardy, those who are doing the right thing regarding COVID-19, and yes, those who are still defiant, still rebellious, still stubborn, still self-centered. Yes, I'm talking about you because I was once that way before, back in October, November, and December of 2020. But having survived COVID-19, I have adopted a psychic change, applied these 12 spiritual principles now to COVID-19 so that I don't have to repeat my mistakes. And guess what? Neither do you. So let's give 30 seconds of homage to our Creator and the entire human race as we simultaneously go through this knee-bowing experience of COVID-19. But there is a solution. They are in the 12 steps. 30 seconds and a moment of silence for our Creator and the entire human race. Join me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you on behalf of my creator, not that he needs it, but I want to say thank you on his behalf. And thank you on behalf of the entire human race, those who are in the proactive, inactive, reactive, or responsible mode of COVID-19. Those who may be in the prevention, intervention, or restoration mode of COVID-19. I don't know which category you are in, but guess what? That covers the whole entire process, right? So we know in a 12-step program, they say that some of us must die in order for some of us to live. And why is that? Because some of us are just incapable of being honest with ourselves. Huh? We are so we are so unfortunate, but guess what? It seems that we have been born that way, right? And so we just are naturally incapable of being totally honest. Okay? And so that's why they say some of us must die in order for some of us to live regarding this COVID-19. So back in March of 2020, Dr. Scott T. Allison wrote an article in Psychology Today stating and focusing on 7 points on how we as a society can benefit from the wisdom of the 12-step programs during the month of April 2020, when we first had that lockdown or stay-at-home mandate. Now we are coming up on a year later, and we are over close to 550,000 lives have been taken from COVID-19. Huh? They say close to 30 million people are infected in one way, shape, form, or fashion with COVID-19. So that means we have to do something, if not holistically, but individually, collectively. And if we do that for individual, for family, for culture, city, state, country, we can stop the perpetuation of COVID-19. Yes, we can. And so that article helped me to ignite April the 1st of pushing that button. And the Spirit just said, Edwina, go share your experience, your strength, your hope, and your wisdom regarding how you, at that time, had 30 years of this 12-step program and applying it to all your affairs so that you can touch one life, one family, one culture. Yes. And applying these 12 recovery principles. Yes. And up until December the 3rd, which is day 104 now, is when I sat before you with COVID-19. And how I shared with you the transparency, how I looked, how I felt, and how I continue to apply now these 12 steps to COVID-19. With me and members of my family. Yes. Then I was able to go online and extract Jason Waller's template of breaking down all the steps as he applied it to his alcoholism. Dr. Scott T. Allison applied the Al-Anon 12-step program to those 7 points, interjecting their experience, their strength, their hope, their knowledge, their wisdom. And now you are hearing from my perspective as I utilize and include my experience, my strength, my hope, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices, and my bad decisions. And so we are here with this recovery conversation on how we can stop the devastating perpetuation of this COVID-19 and the various variants that are among us right now. So it's not over until the Creator say it's over. He only knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of this pandemic. It's not the first or the last pandemic that we as a human race have or will experience. But we have something different this time. We have the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature that can address any and all physical conditions. Yes. So let's continue on as we embark upon day 104 of the Free to Hope from Recovery, Emerge Empowered to give hope to others, help others prosper equally from this COVID-19. Yes. So in the beginning, I had to acknowledge my sponsors. This information is free to the public, but as you will see in my earlier podcast, how I had a makeshift studio in my bedroom, sometimes my kitchen. Now I'm in my den, still makeshift, right? But guess what? The important thing is to get the information out. So focus on the message and not the messenger. All right? So let me thank my sponsors. Let me bring them up right now and share with you how they have helped me to increase my platform in order to get the information to as many people as possible. MDB Associates, Patchwork Human Services, Levante and Dorsey and Associates, Academy of Peace, Crafty Crab Seafood Restaurant. That's where I had my 31st anniversary, and they practiced the CDC suggestions, and they made us too, but they didn't have to make us. We were willing to apply the CDC suggestion. Free to Hope, as I just mentioned. I also have at our disposal, we have Women Do Hall Transportation Services, Mr. C's Barbershop, Morgans of Delaware, Lady T at Morgans of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, and Divine Light Recovery Center Supportive Housing. I love Divine Light because it coincides with Dr. Carl Jung, Dr. Bob, and Bill W. back in that meeting in the 1930s when they discovered through Dr. Carl Jung willingness to be humble and say, listen, guys, the medical field can't help alcoholics. The religious field can't help alcoholics. What y'all all need is divine intervention, divine providence that will bring you to divine light. And that's why years later, I was directed to go and be of service to this organization called Divine Light. So if you would like to be a sponsor, please contact me at edwina.bell@yahoo.com or 302-690-6679. You can also cash at me, yes, at $free to hope. All right. And this way you can be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So I also want to acknowledge Jason Waller's breakdown of the 12 steps. So I want to pay homage to him as well. But let me first give you the information that I talked to you about Dr. Scott T. Allison and how that article really inspired me to sit before you since April the 1st of 2020. The resource is Dr. Scott T. Allison's article in Psychology Today, March the 31st, 2020 edition, how wisdom of the 12-step programs can help get us through April the 20th. He focused on 7 points: letting go of control, patience, keeping the focus on oneself, trust, living in the present, social connections, and service to others. And we also have the information from Jason Waller, right? So if you go to jasonwaller.com, you will see all the steps broken down in a simplistic way that a child can understand them, all right? And so as a result of sharing that information with you, I want to also share with you just a little bit of my video podcast that was recorded on April the 4th of 2020, and I've been showing bits and pieces of the original and the initial podcast just to give you an idea of the transformation, the process, the journey of my creator using me just to help one more soul, one more family, one more city, one more community, one more state, one more country, and providing this vital information of the 12 steps. And if we apply them to COVID-19, simple suggestion of what? Washing our hands, wearing a mask, social distancing, contact tracing, getting tested, and getting vaccinated, which I have done. And I'm going to show you that as well. As a matter of fact, let me show you now. This is the first shot I got on February the 6th of 2021. After dispelling rumors and doing my research and asking questions, I decided to get the vaccination shot. Yes. So once I got that, a month later, right, on March the 4th, wait a minute, on March the 4th, I got my second shot. And listen to what she says. She says, listen, a shot of hope. Did you hear that? All right. So now you've seen that I got the vaccination shot again after doing my research, asking questions, dispelling all the myths, right? And realizing that during my addiction, when I got needles for STDs and this and that, listen, I can get a needle to save my life. And that is, from what I understand, can decrease the severity of the symptoms, decrease me going into there's a possibility of me losing my life to COVID-19. So I want you to do the same thing and get that vaccination shot and encourage others to do the same. Simply wash your hands, social distance, contact tracing, wearing the mask, getting tested, and getting vaccinated, right? All right, so here is part 3 of day 4 of my initial podcast. Just going to show you just a little bit before we continue with recovery principle number 8 and focusing it on COVID-19. All right. So if you need to see any of my previous podcasts, go back to April the 1st of 2020. If you want to see the transformation of the COVID-19 and what it looked like on me, go back to December the 3rd up until today, 104. So listen. I am picking up where I left off yesterday, and it repeats recovery principle number 8 and the rest of the podcast. Okay? So listen. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. What you mean? Make a list. Yes. Well, in step 4, when we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves, we found out some things about ourselves, and we found out some things that we did to other people. Regardless of what they did to us, but we needed to be held accountable for the part we played in it. And so in recovery principle number 4, we identified the players, the situation, what feelings it generated, and then what part I played in it. So taking that 4th step inventory of all those people that were identified, we take that and we compose our recovery principle number 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. We need to be set free. So when we talk about free from recovery, emerge empowered, we have to be willing to list those individuals we hurt, we have caused harm to. And guess who's at the top of the list? You, me. We have caused more harm to ourselves than anybody. But if I'm not willing to make amends to myself, how in the world can I make amends to anybody else? So by putting myself on the list my family, you go down and you have a column that says, these are the people I know I hurt. And I'm willing to make amends to them. Then you have a middle column that says, maybe I'll put them on a list. Maybe I'll become willing to make amends to them. And you talk about the situation. Then you have a third column that says, I will never make amends to these people. And what happened in the situation? The fact that we just asked you to make a list. And as you develop your list of those you had harmed, you will eventually become willing to make amends to them all. Because you don't want to give anything or anybody that much power ever again to steal your joy, your peace, your serenity. And in our case, to make me go back to drinking and drugging again, oh, hell to the no. I'm not giving you this coronavirus, none of that power ever again to make me go back to drinking. Okay? So recovery principle number 9 says, may direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I repeat, recovery principle number 9 says, may direct amends to such people that we identified on our 8-step recovery principle worksheet. May direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. And so when we do get to recovery principle number 9, we're going to learn how to make direct amends and indirect amends. Because we don't want to avoid anybody or any situation that we need to make amends to and for. We need to be held accountable. We need to be held responsible. We need to obtain the freedom. Yes. Recovery principle number 10 says, continue to take personal inventory. Continue to take personal inventory. Similar to the inventory we did in recovery principle number 4, well, we need to continuously take inventory of ourselves. Throughout the day, in the morning, at night. Should I have done this? Should I do that? Will I go here? I shouldn't have said that. So as long as we are continuing to take personal inventory, and this is the hit, when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. So recovery principle number 10 says, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. First of all, nobody likes to say, I'm sorry. But we expect people to say they're sorry when they do something else, don't we? Yes. But what is the whole idea of promptly admitting it? It doesn't fester. It doesn't rob your serenity, your peace, your tranquility. What you used to sit on for days and months, and people are carrying resentments for years. Could you imagine what's that doing to the inside? Well, recovery principle number 10 helps us on a daily basis to evaluate what our thoughts are, what our actions are, our feelings are. And when we were wrong, we promptly acknowledge it, admitted it, and we apologize, or we made amends in whatever way possible, because we want to continue this freedom. So recovery principle number 10 is continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, we promptly admitted it. Recovery principle number 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. That seemed like a whole lot. No. Listen to what it says. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve my conscious contact with God as I understand Him, as you understand Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So you mean to tell me from recovery principle number 1 down to 9, and now that inventory through 10, that I've seen myself grow spiritually, not be so hung up on life stuff, but how to respond to life stuff and not react to life stuff. And this relationship that I've built with the God of my understanding has given me the tools and the foundation I need to go through this thing called life. Keeping a sense of gratitude, keeping a sense of joy, tranquility. So why wouldn't I want to improve that relationship? I need to keep seeking. I need to keep improving, because I see the benefits and the rewards of prayer and meditation to improve that connection with my higher power. And most importantly, praying only for knowledge of His will for me and the power to carry that out. Many of us will say, well, I have an agenda today. I have things to do today. But guess who has the plan? Every morning, we are dealt a hand. Every morning. If you're card players, you don't know what's under those cards. But every day, we are dealt a hand. Will you be able to play your hand? Will I be able to play my hand? You know why I'll be able to play my hand? Because whatever hand I am dealt, using these 12 recovery principles is going to help me get through any and all things, because number one, I'm seeking help from where help is coming from. I'm practicing these principles in all my affairs. I am challenged to promptly admit, promptly acknowledge. Yes. So why wouldn't I want to improve that? And why wouldn't I want His will to be done? It needs to be revealed, because in the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Where's that wisdom going to come from? Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So, recovery principle number 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understand Him. Okay. Recovery principle number 12 says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message of the 12 recovery principles to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Having had a spiritual awakening, not a physical, a spiritual awakening. As a result of these 12 recovery principles, we try to carry this message. I'm trying to carry it to you and to you. But I'm definitely practicing them in all of my affairs. So those are what the 12 recovery principles are. So let's get, for the remaining time that we have, on recovery principle number 3. But before I do that, many of you know that for me, total transparency is the key. Practicing total honesty is to be transparent. And so before I continue, I want to be transparent. No makeup, no. I took my bracelets off, y'all. And guess what? I'm taking my wig off. I am okay in my own skin. I want to present to you who I am on the physical, but more importantly, that you not look at the messenger, but you listen to the message. So that wig, I don't normally wear a wig anywhere, but I use it to prove a point. That I don't need the mask on, because that's an outside job. I need to reveal what's on the inside. To their own self be true. So let's get to recovery principle number 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, the Creator, if you will, as we understand or understood Him, her. Okay, I'm going to stop it there, because we are on principle number 8, and I will continue part 4 as we go back into history of April the 4th of 2020, when I described each and every step in on April the 4th after going through 1 through 12, but now focusing on recovery principle number 3. And so I will be showing every day until we catch up. I don't know how long that's going to take, but this way you can get to see the transformation, the journey, the spiritual improvement, the spiritual maturity, yes, and the psychic change that is needed. So we are now on recovery principle number 8. So let's do a quick recap of what we have been doing to get to number 8. All right. So let's see here. We need to, let's see. Y'all hold tight for a second. Okay. Let's see what we have here. We did all of that. Okay. We did that. All right. So, yeah, let me start here. This is where in recovery principle number 4, we identified some character defects, right? I had a resentment against COVID-19 that was masked by anger, uncertainty, confusion, frustration, disbelief, and the exact nature, was fear. I had a resentment against myself for being stupid, being defiant, being selfish, being self-centered, having regrets and remorse, but the exact nature was recovery principle fear. And I used to use the acronym of fear of forget everything and run, but now practicing these principles in all our affairs, we learn to face everything and recover. And so it was during these times when I identified my resentments and my character defects regarding COVID-19, I caused some harm to myself and I caused harm to others. And so what we learn in these steps is that when we acknowledge our character defects and we get to the exact nature of our wrongs, we saw in recovery principle number 7, when we fall short after becoming entirely ready, in recovery principle number 6, right? We use an example of our shortcomings and we're going to apply it to COVID-19. But right now I'm applying it to a specific character defect of lying. So recovery principle number 4, we identified lying as the character defect. And recovery principle number 5, we got to the exact nature of lying, which was fear. And then in 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. But in 7, when I feel the need to lie again, am about to lie again, or have lied, I can ask God to remove those shortcomings of lying. But in this example, we can see how when we compose our recovery principle number 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Who have I lied to? Myself. Who else have I lied to? What organization did I lie to? What situation that I had to lie to get myself out of? So what harm did I cause in any and all of those situations? Which is why we are focusing on making that list of those character defects, and also learning how to focus on getting freedom from those character defects, right? Getting to the exact nature. But in recovery principle number 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Now, yesterday, I read Jason Waller's narrative, the questions, overview, synopsis, and as it related to his alcoholism, right? And I shared yesterday that today we're going to change the area of focus and how we can apply recovery principle number 8 to COVID-19. All right. So remember, as I'm sharing what Jason Waller broke down, questions that he posed, We are now changing the area of focus to COVID-19. All right. So you got me? All right. So if you need to go back and see yesterday's podcast, or you could even go online and extract all the steps and follow me as I go at jasonwaller.com, and definitely go and get Dr. Scott Teeth Allison article on obtaining the wisdom and benefits of 12-step programs, okay? So you need to be from Missouri. You need to say, show me. Well, go ahead and do your homework. Go and get your own research done. Ask the questions, all right? So with the time remaining, we're going to focus how important it is to apply recovery principle number 8. I definitely have experience with recovery principle number 8, because I not only caused harm to myself, I caused harm to others, particularly my family members. Yes. And so as we go through this narrative, we are going to stop at each section and decipher it and analyze it and really hone in on the importance of why we need to apply all these steps. But since we're talking about recovery principle number 8, we're going to focus on that. And so made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So the first section that we talked about yesterday, but focus on Jason Waller alcoholism, we're now going to focus it on COVID-19. So I'm going to change the words to apply to COVID-19 and not alcoholics, okay, or drug addicts, okay. So every person who is being challenged by this COVID-19, all human beings, okay, can and have found that she can make little headway in this new adventure of being free from COVID-19 until he first backtracks and really makes an accurate and unsparing survey of the human wreckage he has left in his wake. Now, let me stop there. We have been dealing with this COVID-19 since last year. And from what is being brought to light is that it probably was active probably in December of 2019. Right? So the more research they do, the more study they do, we're going to find out this thing been around for a while. People had it and didn't know because they didn't know what to call it. Okay. But let's think about when you first heard about it. Right. And so back in February, when we first heard about it, and our leaders said this and they said that, right? We, like many of us, said, wow, that's interesting. What is it about, right? And so we began to hear, and we were listening to some extent because there was some confusion, right? And as a result of listening and experiencing some confusion, we wasn't sure what to do, and we wasn't sure who to believe. Am I right? I'm right. Okay. Right. So listen to here. It says, now that we have heard about COVID-19 last year, think about what you have done, from February of 2020 up until now. What have you done? What actions have you taken? What choices have you made regarding this COVID-19? The information, your attitude, your ideas, your behaviors, your actions, your choices. And when we do, when we go back to recovery principle number 4, with making that fearless and searching more inventory, we will see the character defects that we had and how they affected other people, including ourselves. So when we composed our 8-step list, we need to go back and get step 4 to find out who we had these resentments again, who we expressed anger with, who we lied to, who we manipulated, right? And that's why I use that example in my case of lying. Yes, I was lying, not only to myself, but I was lying to others, right? I had to put down that I had a resentment against COVID-19. I had a resentment against those who made this thing happen. I had a resentment of those who brought about confusion. Yes. And so I even had resentments against myself. Yes, once I did my 4th step, I had resentments against myself by being defiant, being rebellious, being self-centered, being selfish, being egotistical, having that feeling of being invincible. So yes, my 4th step, I aligned with recovery principle number 8 to compile that list. Okay, because from last year up until now, but listen, last year up until October, when me and my family members contracted COVID-19, that we contributed to contracting COVID-19 and infecting one another. Yes. And so that's when I, who already had the knowledge but did not apply them to COVID-19, had to do it because it hit me and my family. So you better believe I was willing. I needed a psychic change in order to evaluate my attitudes, ideas, and behaviors, bad choices, bad decisions I made regarding COVID-19. So when we look back, and that's what it says, we have to backtrack and really make an accurate and unsparing survey of the human wreckage we have left in our wake. Yes. So that's what it even starts out with. We found out that we cannot move forward. We cannot grasp. We cannot really be set free unless we first backtrack and see how our attitudes, ideas, behaviors, decision choices, whether good or bad, whether all the time or sometimes, right? Yes, until we backtrack. We can't make no headway, no leadway in moving forward. We won't be able to be set free. So using our 4-step inventory, going back in our history, and we're talking about going back to last year, right, up until now, so that we can identify the wreckage we have caused, not only in our lives, but in the lives of others, and to identify those individuals, those organizations, those agencies, describe the situation, describe the circumstances, so we can become willing to make amends to them all in one way, shape, form, or fashion, because we want to be set free. But first, we have to be honest. We have to put down that person's name, that organization's name, and describe what happened, what we did, what we didn't do, and what amends we need to become willing to make. Yes. All right. So it also says in the next section, terrified of facing the wreckage of your past? Are you afraid to look back and see the harm you have caused? Are you afraid to see that the decisions you made, the choices you made were not in the best interest? Are you afraid? We understand in the 12-step program, listen, that's what we do every day. We face our past. And we say face everything and recover. That's the acronym for fear, instead of forget everything and run. So I ask you, are you terrified of facing the wreckage of your past? looking at the shipwreck of your behaviors, attitudes, ideas, choices, decisions regarding COVID-19 is one thing, okay? Is one thing. That's acknowledgement. But taking actions to repair and mend what is salvageable is a whole other adventure. Yes. My experience said that even though I had these 12 steps in my life for, at that time, 30 plus years, and back in October, November, December of 2020, right, I did not consistently follow the suggestions of the CDC, right? And so it was one thing for me to know about it, hear what they say, thought I was listening, but I took it for granted. And therefore, I created some wreckage. I infected members of my family. I became infected and I contributed to contracting COVID-19. And so being aware of it then and going through it now, I had to do this 8th step by taking actions to repair and mend the relationships that are salvageable, right? And that took on a whole new adventure. It's one thing to acknowledge, be aware, but it's another thing to take action, okay? It says step 8 of COVID-19 Anonymous helps people who are dealing with COVID-19, the whole entire human race, to live in the greatest peace and partnership with others and ourselves. Did you hear that? So you're probably saying, how in the hell you talking about living in the greatest peace? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what it says. Step 8 of COVID-19 Anonymous helps those who are in recovery, recovering from the entire human race with this COVID-19 to live in the greatest peace and partnership with others and themselves. So you better believe I understand what this is saying, because having knowledge of the 12 steps that are spiritual in nature, that has a spiritual angle, that I began to apply it to all physical conditions, including COVID-19, thereby bringing about peace, not fear, not anxiety, not going back to drinking, not going back to prostituting, but peace by applying these 12 spiritual principles to any and all physical conditions, including COVID-19. Yes. So I'm speaking from experience. I applied it to my disease of alcoholism and drug addiction one day at a time, 31 years later. Yes, I have peace. Yes, because I applied these spiritual angles, these spiritual principles, and apply them to any and all physical conditions, no matter what life deals us one day at a time. There is a spiritual principle that can be applied all day long. Yes. So yes, obtaining great peace is possible. Okay. So the purpose, again, it says step 8 of COVID-19 helps. It helps. Okay. It helps. So there is help available. Step 8 of COVID-19 Anonymous helps those who are in recovery, those who are experiencing COVID-19 pandemic, which includes the whole human race. We can live in the greatest peace and in partnership with others and themselves. So I am my brothers and sisters' keeper, right? I wear the mask not just to help me, but to help save your life. To help save the lives of my grandchildren and other children. I wash my hands in order to not infect anybody else because I am my brothers and sisters' keeper. Yes. So that means I am looking out for others and not just myself. And when we do that in partnership, one thinking about each other, we can, we will, we must stop the perpetuation of this devastating pandemic and these variants. Yes, greatest peace we can. Right? Here it is. It says, while step 4 could be seen as our personal house cleaning, right? Regarding our defects of character, identifying how they contributed to us, right? Taking COVID-19 for granted, right? Not taking it seriously. Don't want to wash our hands. Don't want to social distance. Don't want to get tested. Definitely don't want to get vaccinated, right? So in our step 4, we could see and begin our personal house cleaning, okay? But step 8 is more of a social application of the shame reduction that was begun in step 4 when we realized that we have hurt others as well as ourselves because of our thinking, our attitudes, our behaviors, our choices, our decisions regarding COVID-19. Yes. It says here, step 4, where we talked about the resentments and the anger and defiance and rebelliousness, self-centeredness, right? How we took this COVID-19 for granted, how we were not thinking about other people, or if we were, we start and stop. We were not consistent and we didn't do it on a continuous basis. Why? Because it required discipline. It required discipline. So I had to acknowledge the fact that all those other masks that I was wearing, that I identified in step 4, that I needed to wear the mask, and the only mask that will save my life and save yours too. And so that's why it says in step 8, who do we put at the top of that list? If it doesn't start with me, there's no way I can consider you. So again, step 8 of COVID-19 Anonymous is more of a social application of the shame reduction that was begun in step 4 when we realized that we have hurt others as well as ourselves because of our thinking. Taken for granted, our actions, our choices, our decisions. If you talk to those who have lost loved ones, if you talk to those who had COVID-19 and are surviving, if you talk to someone who has it right now, they will tell you the if I coulda, woulda, shouldas. Yes, they would. I would have washed my hands. I would have contact tracing. I would have worn my mask all the time. I would have got tested. Talk to them. You're hearing it from me because I was infected and I infected my family members. So I'm sharing my experience, my hope, my strength, my wisdom, my lack of wisdom, my bad choices and my bad decisions with you. Yes. Because we realize we have hurt others. Do we want to continue to contribute to hurting others, causing them their lives? Why? Because of what? Don't you want to be responsible and held accountable for your actions and your decisions that are right, that are spiritually based? Don't you want to learn these 12 spiritual principles? So that we can apply them to the CDC's suggestions, applying these 12 spiritual principles and to combat any and all physical conditions, as well as lead by example, being attraction to others. That's what I had to do. That's what I must do. And guess what? I'm obligated to do. And because I survived it with other members of my family, I am honored to do it. It's my responsibility to do it. All right. It says, while working step 8, you are just going to make a list of people you have harmed and the specific ways that you have harmed each one. Do you hear that? And step 8 regarding COVID-19, we are just going to make a list of people we have harmed and the specific ways that we have harmed each one. All of them. So when I start with myself, I caused harm to myself. In what ways? I did not take this COVID-19 seriously. I took COVID-19 for granted. I was not consistent. I wanted to pick and choose when to wear a mask. I wanted to pick and choose when to wash my hands. I wanted to pick and choose where and who to go around with social distancing. I wanted to pick and choose if I wanted to take a test, let alone a vaccination. Yes. By me having that attitude, those ideas, making those behaviors, having those behaviors, making those choices and those decisions, I caused harm to myself. And in all those ways. And therefore, I contributed to contracting COVID-19. Yes. Yes. I have to be responsible for my decisions, my actions, my choices. And acknowledge that I caused harm to myself. Then, once I acknowledge myself, then it's obvious who I caused harm to after me. Members of my family. From as young as 2 years old up to 78 years old. By the time COVID-19 had its challenge or its escapade with us, it went from 7 to 9, including the month of January of 2021. Yes. So I began to list each and every one of my family members and how I caused harm to them based on my decisions, my choices, my attitude, my actions, my ideas, my behaviors that were negative. And therefore, I contributed to infecting them. Yes. Yes, I did. All right, so you got an idea of why making this list is so important and why becoming willing to make amends to myself and then to all of them. Do you see the importance of that? All right, we're going to stop there and we will continue tomorrow if it's God's will that He breathed life into us for day 105. He wakes us up tomorrow morning, we will be reunited. In the meantime, I want you to wash your hands, social distancing, wear the mask, contact tracing, get tested, and definitely get vaccinated. Yes. So I'm going to close with thanking my sponsors again. I'm going to close with showing you that I got the vaccination shot, right? And I'm going to say, please be safe. So in the meantime, let me thank my sponsors again. I do it every time at the beginning and at the end because I want to make sure that you patronize them, right? And that you also think about becoming a sponsor yourself, right? So let's go and say thank you to these individuals and organizations. They are MDB. No, wait a minute. I'm going too fast. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Y'all just got to be patient with me. Listen, I practice the serenity prayer. Yes, I do. So I'm going to go back to here and I'm going to take my time. And now I'm going to go here and thank, right? MDB Associates, Patchwork Human Services, Levante and Dorsey and Associates, right? Academy of Peace, Crafty Crab Seafood, Free to Hope, From Recovery, Emerge, Empowered, Women Do Haul Transportation Services, right? I always need to give credit to my sponsors, Mr. C's Barbershop, Morgan's of Delaware, Lady T at Morgan's of Delaware, Jewelry by Catherine Butler, Divine Light Recovery Center, and Supportive Housing. And my resources, I acknowledge them as well. Dr. Scott T. Allison in his article in Psychology Today, as well as Jason Waller breaking down the 12 steps. JasonWaller.com. All right. And now, after I've shown him, I want to show you my shot that I got on February the 6th. All right. Here we go. Okay. All right. All right, wait a minute. Let me get it up there again. Hold on. I want to go to the beginning, right? Because she said something that's important, right?
Look at it. She said the red button. Gotcha. All right. Okay. Let's get you a little shot of hope here, Mike.
A shot of hope. Yes, a shot of hope. So until we meet again, if it's God's will, please be safe, all right? And make sure that you follow the simple suggestions of the CDC, and we will be reunited if it's God's will, right?